All right, welcome back to the Hit Your Numbers podcast, the show for SDRs, AEs, and sales leaders, where we bring you the strategies that you can instantly implement to close skill gaps, build more pipeline, and close bigger deals faster. I'm your host, James Bissell, and today you're in for a special value-packed episode. And I'm joined by Matt, our CMO. So, Matt, let's tell the listeners, what are we here to talk about today?
Hi, James. Yeah, so we were having a conversation earlier. We started talking about what are the common questions that SDRs and AEs are asking everyone? And more specifically, in today's environment, what are they asking ChatGPT? It's become a go-to tool for everything these days. I've used it for creating a fitness plan, whether you want a diet plan, whether you want a cold calling script, whether you just want to answer a question. People are going to ChatGPT for everything. So what are the common things that people are asking ChatGPT? Now, we had a look and I just went out and asked. I was like, okay, what are the common B2B sales questions you as ChatGPT are being asked by sellers around the world? And it gave us a list of answers, which are really interesting and gives us some insight into the common problems everyone's having or the common things people need from a service like that. What's important is ChatGPT is not going to be great for everything, right? So people are going to be asking it for a cold calling script, but it doesn't have the context and information to give the right cold calling script. It's just going to give you something. Unless you're an absolute whiz with this technology, you're not going to know how to ask the right question to get the right information back. And I imagine if you're a whiz at ChatGPT or any kind of AI technology, you probably don't need it to write a cold calling script for you. And that's not saying anything bad about people who do use it, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, looking forward to this. I'd love to know, like, if I was ChatGPT, someone's coming and knocking on my front door, if I opened the door, what they'd be asking me. So I'm super excited to hear some of these questions and hopefully maybe add some value to the listeners so that they can get, some feedback from us. We're in the trenches, we're speaking with customers all of the time, and we know what works today. So hopefully we can help them answer some of these questions and send them on their way with some strategies they can implement today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping we can give some great do's and don'ts. Like
Yes.
what's safe to ask ChatGPT and what's not safe to ask ChatGPT, because people are going to end up with some really, I don't know, you don't want to get bad answers, bad scripts, bad advice. It's a service that's designed to kind of please the audience, right? So it's going to try and tell you what you want to hear. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right answer.
Yeah. I mean, they would make fantastic stories, I guess, in the office if you literally copied and pasted a chat GPT advice and it blew up on you. It'd be crap, it'd really suck at that moment, but it'd make a cool story, I guess, afterwards. Good war story.
Yes, it absolutely could. Or based on experience from a previous job I was in, there was quite a famous story of a lawyer who used ChatGPT to do some work for him, and it produced cases that don't exist and precedents that don't exist.
Nice.
And it went to court, and I think they got disbarred, if that's the right term in America. They were not allowed to practice after that. And that was a commonly cited story amongst lawyers when using AI. So everyone was very panicked about, do I ask ChatGPT or any other service legal questions? Does it actually know how to give a right answer? And the short answer is no, but there are services out there that are, they feed in the right information. So James, you've put a list, you've gone through the questions that ChatGPT has given us that are the most commonly asked B2B sales questions. And I want to go through them and throw these questions at you and get your feedback on them.
Yeah, totally.
So this is me as, I'm going to say I'm an SDR and I'm going to ChatGPT. And what I'm asking it is, how do I find qualified B2B leads?
Yellow pages, surely?
Yellow pages.
Not anymore. Yeah. Not anymore. Those were the good days. When there was no such thing as like these database tools where it tell you the name of the persona that you need to call. We used to just phone, we'd work front to back on the yellow pages and just call people and ask who the decision maker was, and things were just very different back then. But I do feel like we've overcomplicated it, but that's a different podcast probably. So good places to find, B2B leads. I mean, look, usually they're staring you in the face in most cases. So like one of my favorite places to find qualified B2B leads. Let me give you like pre-AI and now with AI. So one of my favorite places to go and find B2B leads is going into LinkedIn, going into the search bar. So this was a really cool one when I was selling HR tech. So if I went into the search bar and I typed in employee engagement and hit enter, if I then went to events, so it normally comes up with like posts or people first. If you then toggle that to events, what you'll find is these are all of the like webinars hosted on LinkedIn about that specific keyword. So employee engagement. Now, I don't know about you, Matt, but like at 6 p.m. on a Thursday evening, I'm not going to an employee engagement webinar for an hour unless I'm in the right role and I've got an employee engagement problem in my business. Is that fair for me to say?
Yes, I think actually that's an interesting point. Now that most people work from home, or we had a huge working from home shift, I think things are different now because when I used to work in the office in London, actually going to evening events was very common. A lot of
Yeah,
evening networking events, probably not doing it now.
yeah. But I guess that something would be there on the agenda that's top of mind for you that would warrant you, putting in the time, either in working hours or outside of working hours, to warrant going to that event or that webinar or something like that. Is that fair to say? Unless there was like unlimited drinks and you're like, screw the topic, I'm just going there to get pissed on the free.
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock on a Friday and a free bar.
Yeah,
But yeah, absolutely. Like if the event's got suitable topics and it's within my industry, and also I'm the sort of person who wants to know more, wants to get involved, very proactive in my job, then yeah,
yeah.
I'd probably be at this event.
Yeah, but this is the beauty of what we do here and what I'm talking about. So if you go into that event, I can see that there's this event, it's taking place at this time. Here's some description. Now, why am I talking about this when we're talking about finding leads? Well, if you actually click the attend button, this is what most people don't realize. If you click on attend, it will then show you all of the other people that are attending that webinar. So my point is, if a HR director is going to an employee engagement webinar at 4 p.m., 6 p.m. on a Thursday, whenever it is, they're likely going there because they have an employee engagement problem in their business. Yeah, they might be problem aware. They might be really far down the funnel. They might be really high up in the funnel. Regardless, they're there for a reason. So all you really need to do is be like, hey, Matt, notice we're both attending the employee engagement webinar on Thursday at 4 p.m. Curious, when I'm speaking to your peers, they go to these events because of one, two, and three. Does that ring true for you, or are you going for a different reason? And that's what I'm talking about. There's lots of like insights and signals and triggers that we can actually lean into, but unfortunately, a lot of sellers just aren't curious anymore. So they just typically do what they've always done. That's why I brought up the yellow pages earlier, just as a laugh. But like, we have to think differently today because with technology, we are seeing breadcrumbs and we can start to piece things together. So, like, pre AI, and don't get me wrong, like, you can still do that today. Like, we have customers that book a boatload of meetings from targeting people that are going out of their way to go to webinars like this. But now you've got AI. One of my favorite things that we've built into the AI sales assistants is the lookalike builder. So when I was at BT, a lot of it was like face-to-face sales. We're going to industrial states and like going in and like selling to IT directors and CFOs and things like that. And one of the things I learned there was five-a-side and not football. So when you come out of that office after running discovery or doing a presentation, we would go and knock on the doors, five to the left and five to the right. And we would say, hey, Matt, we've never spoken before. This is in person. Hey, Matt, never spoken before, but I've just spent the last hour with John a couple of doors down at ABC Limited, and he's finding this problem happens because of this, and it's causing this. Long shot, but just curious, like, given that you're so well connected, like, is this impacting you as well? And most of the time, I'd end up in their offices having a conversation and walking away with either an order or an opportunity to go back and pitch for the business. So if a lot of us are selling virtually like at our desks over Zoom, we can't do that. But what can we do? We'll go to AI and say, hey, I'm an SDR. I just booked a meeting with Salesforce. Give me a list of all of the companies that look like Salesforce so I can prospect them. Or if I'm an AE, I just closed a deal with ABC company. Give me 10 companies that are their direct competitors. And what you'll find is you'll get back a really good list. Yeah, every now and then there'll be a little bit of noise in there, but 80% of AI is pretty good if you ask it and give it the right context. Or you can use our lookalike builder and it just does all of that for you. And then I'm taking the messaging that resonated with the person I've just booked a meeting with or a deal I just closed with, and guess what I'm doing with it? I'm using it in that conversation. And it won't be 100% on the money, but I bet you it's really close. And I'm going to build a lot of trust and credibility and probably book a meeting.
I think there's two really good bits of advice in there. One is the LinkedIn sort of sales navigator, using the events, looking at people that are attending. I didn't even know that, and I've been working with sales teams for years. That's a really good bit of advice. The other is about being specific about what you're asking. So, do you actually want to know what the answer is that ChatGPT is going to give you if you ask it that question?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's hear it.
So, how can I find qualified B2B leads? It just gives you a very generic overview of, you need to know who you're targeting, industry, company size, revenue. Try these platforms: LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Zoom Info, stuff that sales teams should probably know about already, but it's
Yeah.
not really giving you much substance. It's very high level. Use cold outreach to initiate contact, cold emailing. Well, you don't know who you're emailing. So, but I think the other piece of advice as well that you've given, which is really good, is that it's about being specific. I've just closed a deal with X. I need to find companies that look like this. So you're not asking it how to find the leads, you're asking it to find a very specific set of companies.
Yeah.
Now, you're not going to get the person's name who works in the department that you need, but it's going in the right direction. And we're not trying to plug our products throughout this podcast all the time, but the lookalike builder is built
Yeah.
specifically for that, and it uses ChatGPT, these huge LLM systems with specific data feeds, and it already knows what you're looking for as a B2B salesperson. So it's a quick way of doing it as well.
Yeah. Agreed.
But before we get on to plugging more products, shall I throw another question at you?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so when it comes to sales and messaging and communication, B2B sellers are asking ChatGPT, what's a good voicemail script for B2B sales?
Yeah, so don't even know how many thousands, tens of thousands of cold calls in the 15 years that I've been doing this. But one thing's for sure I do know is that most people aren't going to call you back, right? They're busy. If they're not answering the phone, it's probably because they're in meetings, especially the higher you climb in the company hierarchy. If they're not answering your calls, if they're not replying to emails, you can't connect with them on LinkedIn, let's leave them a voicemail. But the problem is a lot of sellers are like, hey, Matt, James at the Revenue Enabler, call me back. Don't know who you are, don't know what you want, probably not going to do it. Sounds like a sales pitch, right? Or they're like, hey, Matt, this is James at the Revenue Enabler. We work with sales leaders to close their team skill gaps to unlock and increase sales performance. We do this by da-da-da-da. You're like, no, thanks. And what a lot of people don't know is that when you receive a voicemail, a lot of phones will turn it to text and send it as a text message to you. Or if it's a company device, you might even get a voice to email notification and it sends you the text in an email. And you're like, no way am I calling that guy back. I'm glad he left me that voicemail because now I know what he wants. So the better way to do it is actually don't even ask him to call you back at all. So it goes a little bit like this. Hey, Matt, just try to give you a call. Instead, I've popped you over an email. Subject line is landing page error. Let me know on email or something like that, right? So you're the CMO, and let's say I sell landing page optimization software. Why would I get you to call me back? Because you're the CMO, you're probably busy. So why don't I just send you somewhere that when you're listening to it, you're probably free. So if I can actually point you in the right direction, that might do enough. And the subject line has to be that kind of engine to do it. So, hey, Matt, just shot you an email, landing page error. Let me know. See you over there. Reply there.
I think there's a really good piece of advice in there as well, is because you're not suggesting you're going to call them back either. My concern would be is, as a seller, like if I called someone and left a voice message and said, I'll try you again tomorrow, they're going to hit the block button because they're going to think, I don't want this person calling me again. So rather
Yeah.
than ignore them, I'll just block them. Then it kind of, they disappear from your world. Well, that number
Yep.
does anyway. Whereas if you just say, hey, I've sent you something, it's an email, point them in the right direction, I think that's great. And you're absolutely right. If you're sat there listening to your voice notes or your voice messages, you're probably free and you're probably in front of your laptop and you can probably be clicking on your emails as you're listening to it, which is really good. Do you want to know what ChatGPT has to say?
I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Okay, so this is an effective B2B voicemail script. Keeping in mind that the script has a lot of placeholders for first name, company name, things like that. So I'm going to summarize. It
Okay.
says, "Hi, first name. This is so and so at company name. I work with companies like yours to help with X, Y, and Z. You drop your value proposition in there. I had a quick idea after looking at your website. When you have a moment, give me a call back. Looking forward to connecting." I don't really feel like that's strong enough. Like, I
No.
had a quick idea after looking at, your website or LinkedIn or something like that. I get that you're sort of inviting them to talk about something less specific. Like, you're not saying, "Hey, I'm trying to sell to you. Can you give me a call back?" It's like, "I saw this LinkedIn post. I had an idea." And I don't know, like, an idea for what? It's quite vague.
But that can be tweaked so closely, right? That could be, let's use you as a CMO, Matt, and let's say again I'm selling, I don't know, live chat that like requires instant access to sales teams rather than having to fill in like 15 fields, right? I might be like in the voicemail, "Hey Matt, I'm on your website right now. And when I clicked book a demo, I noticed that you're asking for a lot of information and your peers are seeing a massive drop in conversions as a result. I've just popped you over an email because this voicemail would go on forever, but in the email, I've outlined what your peers are doing at the moment to go from a 1% to a 4.7% conversion improvement on their landing pages. Let me know if it's top of mind for you." So, like, it's personalized. Like, I'm on your website right now. I'm the CMO. So, that's probably going to hook me a little bit. How do I rehook you? Talk about a problem, lean into peers, because if my peers are talking about it, I don't want to have FOMO. It's going to create some FOMO. I don't want to be left out. And then, like, what's that outcome I'm trying to do? Well, if you work with us, we can help you go from A to B in this time period. But let me know an email. Go check it out. So it's not a million miles away. I can see what ChatGPT was trying to recommend, but ChatGPT still has some skill gaps in that department. So I wouldn't take it 100%. It needs to work on closing those before it can make that kind of recommendation.
It does. Wouldn't you love to know what ChatGPT's skill gaps are?
Oh,
Um,
totally.
So it
Yeah.
actually it did provide an example as well for a SaaS platform that provides improved onboarding, and it says, "Hi Sarah, this is David from Onboard Pro. We help SaaS teams like Amitco reduce their user onboarding by up to 40%. I had a quick thought after looking at your recent product launch. Give me a call back when you can," and it puts the number in and puts the number in again. Again, not bad. And I like the fact that it's relevant. It's someone's seen something that you're doing and they're like, "Hey, I saw this product launch. I saw that you're doing this. Give me a quick call back." Some people are going to buy into it, some people are not. I think there are going to be some strategies, and depending on who you're selling to, that you need to implement to really get through to someone. Because I know I don't get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of LinkedIn messages actually,
Yeah.
which are like, "I work for this company. We can help with your SEO. We can help with your website. We can help with your ads. We can deliver, better ad optimization, all of this stuff." And they all look very spammy. I don't know. I'm not going to look at any of that really. And there's usually points within the year or within your kind of tenure or however you want to describe it that you actually look at those things. So if someone had called me a couple of months ago and said, "Matt, I saw you started a new job. I know that you're probably going to be looking at changing things. We can help you optimize your ads, or we can help set you up." I'm like, okay, that's a bit more relevant.
Yeah. It's getting
But
closer, isn't it?
it's getting closer, it's getting closer. But there's a lot of context to leaving a voicemail. It's not going to give you a good script to help you without you telling it all the context anyway. And if you
Yeah.
don't know that, then I don't know. If you don't know what to say on a phone call and you're trying to get, you're a seller and you don't know what to say on a phone call or a voicemail, then yeah, I don't know if ChatGPT is really going to help you at this point.
Yeah, this for me isn't a use case for ChatGPT. I don't think this is a training opportunity, right? This is like this should be in the playbook. This should be part of new seller onboarding, and those placeholders should be filled in with relevant information for the product and the market, etc. that they work in. So, yeah, yeah, I think that's a tough one. I probably wouldn't use ChatGPT for that personally.
Okay. Look, I've got another question here, which
All
is,
right,
what's a cold calling script that actually works in B2B?
love that. What's a cold calling script that actually works in B2B? I'd love to know first, actually, what did ChatGPT recommend?
Okay, let's turn this around and we'll do ChatGPT first, and then James, you can give us your expert insights on
I've
this.
got a couple of ideas, but I'm really curious what ChatGPT would recommend because that's quite a big question to ask. Not like voicemail, it's like what's a good cold calling script in general that works in B2B. So I'll be interested.
I'll tell you what, It's confident. It's come back with a proven cold calling script for B2B sales.
There we go. Let's just hear the opener. Yeah, the opener will be interesting because that's what everyone's like obsessed with on LinkedIn for some silly reason. So yeah, let's hear what they recommend.
Okay, so the opener is, "Hi, James. This is Matt from the Revenue Enabler. Did I catch you with a minute?"
No, I'm really busy, I'm afraid.
I'll keep it super brief. I work with sales training teams like your company to help them deliver better sales training.
Yeah, I think you've lost me. I'm gonna have to. Can you give me a call back another day? I'm just too busy watching paint dry.
Yeah, it's not really
That's
giving
tough.
you, yeah, it's not giving us a lot to work with. So what's your perspective on this? Like, what does make a good cold calling script?
I do like a permission-based opener, and a lot of people, are always trying to find a better one. They're trying to be really funny with it. I don't think you need to personally. Like we are still seeing with our customers, and like the evidence is on our website on our testimonials page. Customers using things like, "Hey Matt, this is James at the Revenue Enabler. We've never spoken before, but can I take 30 seconds to explain why I'm calling you today? I promise to be brief." Right?
Okay.
Like confident, clear, good tone. They're thinking, who the hell are you? What do you want? Right? Who am I? James at the Revenue Enabler. We've never spoken before. What the hell do you want? If you give me 30 seconds, I'll tell you and I'll be brief. Super simple, right? Another one, if you want to personalize it up, hey, Matt, currently doing some work with, John over at ABC Company and win rates are up 30%. Wanted to give you a call because I know you work in a really similar business. Can I take 30 seconds to tell you why I'm calling? Like, personalize it up a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. I think because you've already given them there's already a hook in there. There's already a kind of winning story.
Yeah. And then like a third one here, like this is one that's definitely worth testing. And I've been doing some really cool outbound with it, but like on voice notes and LinkedIn and things like that. But it's things like, let's say, for example, my customer is Joe Blogs and we're both connected on LinkedIn to Joe Blogs. I would basically go into Sales Navigator and say, hey, show me people that match these profile criteria that are also connected with Joe Blogs. As long as they're in the right kind of look and feel, I'm going to phone Matt and say, hey, Matt, I noticed that you and I are both connected with Joe Blogs on LinkedIn. We've just helped them do outcome. Can I take 30 seconds to give you to tell you why I'm calling you today? Again, got to be really clear. Otherwise, it'd be like, sorry, connected to who? And you don't want to like lose control there and then get on the back foot. So just make sure that you're role playing this, practicing it. But this is definitely one that's worth implementing, getting some data, like maybe having a little report on the dashboard and going, right, I'm going to run with this for 2 weeks, for a week, and see if I can move the needle a little bit. And if it doesn't work, then go, back to your other opener that does work. But if it does work, then maybe adopt it and roll it out across the rest of your sales team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit like A/B testing in marketing. You
Yeah,
try one message, pitch it against another message, and see which works best for different verticals, different sectors. And the one that's resonating is the one that's going to get you the most responses. So you just continue with that. And
yeah,
every seller's going to have their own personality, their own way of approaching things. So they've got to find what works for them, which is where ChatGPT kind of falls down a little bit because it doesn't know you. It doesn't know your personality. It doesn't know the personalities of the people that you're speaking to. For example, a company I used to work in, we had a lot of people selling to people in different Caribbean islands. They operate and respond to things very differently than the US customers that we used to deal with. And those, again, in Canada or Ireland or the UK, everyone has a slightly different way of approaching things, especially business and country and regions. And there's just so many factors to that if you don't put that information into ChatGPT, it's not going to be able to give you the right information out. And a big question mark here is, does it even know that? Does this system, as great as it is, we all love it for various reasons, does it really understand the nuances of someone in the UK calling a big enterprise firm in the US and trying to get through to a C-suite, exec who they're trying to sell to?
yeah,
Probably not. It doesn't have
yeah.
that level of experience. So there's a limitation with this system, right?
Yeah, 100%. And like always, and you know this, right? I always talk about it as like last mile transportation. Like if I'm driving into Portsmouth City, they'd like you to park in the park and ride that's a mile out to help with like pollution and things. So, you can get yourself 80% there, and then the city will get you in the last 20%. The same with AI. And we've built like all of these great AI sales assistants to do a lot of the busy work and the coaching for the sellers, but still requires a human being to look at it and tweak it. So if you give it all the context, like, and we've put hundreds of hours of training recording transcripts into our models so it has the context. But I still would never copy and paste and ship it out, because I will be replaced by AI if I do that. I still have to tweak it a little bit for the region, the persona, whatever it might be, right? But you were saying something there, and apologies, I cut you off, but a lot of people obsess over their open. You shouldn't really be getting that wrong anymore. There's so much content online around all these openers, and if you're curious enough, you should have tested a bunch of them, tracked the data, and found something that is the best for you. But if I had to give any advice when it comes to the script, it's what you say next. If you've done that curious data led kind of test, most people should say, yeah, sure, go for it. Right. Give me a pitch. Yeah, I'll hear you out. I've got 30 seconds, whatever. Right. The bit you should really obsess over, and this is where AI can help. This is where I locked my last team away around a whiteboard for days to improve cold calling. And we went from 6 to 60 meetings a month from the phone without growing the headcount, because we obsessed over the personas problems. So get curious, seek feedback, interview your customers. I used to do lunch and learns and things like that, where I'd get customers on a call with my team and we'd do lunch and learns, and they would teach us what it's like to be in the role of HR or whatever it is. And then we just took that, we made problem statements, and then we just went back to those personas, different persona, like same persona but different people, and we played that back to them. And it's amazing how, using the customer's voice, people align with it. It's like what we were doing earlier when we had this chat on Slack about the website. Is we said, look, I've been in all of these roles, SDR, AE, VP of sales. Drop the ego, get curious. Once we've built the pages with the content on, we'll give it to an SDR and say, hey, you're in the role right now. Does this language resonate with you? And if not, why not? And how would what would you rather it say? Because we want their voice on that page, because we want it to convert. It's the same with the cold call scripts. If you're sat there making it up yourself and not testing it with your customers, your prospects, or like most of you have got a HR person at your company. If I'm selling HR tech, why would I not just go down the corridor and say, hey, you've got a vested interest in our success. You want us to be successful. You're a HR person. Would you receive this well? What would you change?
100%. And also, another good tip there is look internally. There's going to be other salespeople who are successful at your company. Again, people have different personalities, they approach things differently, and what they're saying may not come across in the same way if you say it, if that makes sense. Someone with a much bubblier personality can say something with more conviction than someone who's a bit more serious. So you can't just copy things completely, but you can take inspiration from them. And talking about going internal and saying, here's HR software, go into your HR team, would you like this? Does this resonate with you? I always found asking the product team it was probably the most useful thing that I could do in previous roles, which was, why did you build this? Like, why did you make this product? And they'll go, well, we spoke to 10 HR lawyers or 10 HR professionals and they couldn't do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, okay, great. Because that information, it's a bit like Chinese whispers. That information about why you built something gets filtered through the founder, the sales team, the marketing department. The value proposition gets changed and developed. And sometimes you can lose that like fundamental reason why you built something in the first place, which is to solve the customer's problem. But if you don't understand what the issue is day to day for them, when they're sat at their desk every day, if you really don't understand what they're doing and what their problems are, that phone call's probably, it failed before you dialed the number,
100%.
because, you've no idea what they're doing, and you can't grab their attention because you don't speak their language. So you really got to be invested in what that person does, why they do it, and the nuances around it as well, because it could be something really small that you're solving, but actually makes up a huge difference later in, down the line.
Yeah. And I don't want to digress because I'm really keen to get into some of the other questions. But one of the things I will leave us with here before we do shift gears into the next one is, if you're a sales leader or an SDR leader or an AE leader listening to this now, one of the biggest improvements you can make to your new seller onboarding plan is to shift product training way out. Start with personas. Who are the personas? How are they getting the job done without you? What sucks about getting it done that way? What would they, how, or what or how would they like to do it better? And what business metrics are being impacted and why? And just get that documented. And then, like their current state, And then when you want to talk about like future or desired state, which is where like they will you in to save the day, that's where you can bring in the feature name, the benefit, the advantage, the positioning to help them kind of close that loop on how they can do it a better way. Problem is, if you just start with product in your new seller onboarding, reps just lean into product in every interaction because you're selling a product. That's why they usually skip discovery, or their messaging usually misses the mark because it doesn't start with show me you know me, you understand my world, can you solve a problem that I'm running into. It's just like product, and no one buys product, they buy outcomes. So anyway, we'll stop there because I will literally digress and talk about that topic forever.
No, I think that's great. I just want to go back to the key pieces of advice that I think came out of this discussion, and one of them being the prospecting using the events section on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Have I got that right? Is it the events
Yeah.
section?
Yeah. So whether it's event, I think it's called events or webinars. Either way, it's where people host their like live events, a bit like we're
Yeah.
doing, with the technology we're using right now.
Yeah, if you are prospecting, that's a really good place to go. Sounds like a really unique prospecting part of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or the world of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And also, we do have some AI tools that have been customized, trained on various data sets that can help. If you are the sort of person who wants to use ChatGPT, you want to use AI tools to just, to do 80% of the work, to get you really nearly close to the line, we've trained them, we've got them, we've tested them, we've trained them. There's SDRs, there's AEs, there's sales leaders who have used them, and they've given us the testimonials. So you don't even have to listen to us. You can listen to them.
Awesome. Well, look, thanks for jumping on. This has been a cool session. I think we should definitely do more of these. What are sellers asking and who are they asking to? And then how can we help them, maybe support some of the insights, or maybe just give them, some better context so they can put their best foot forward. But for everyone that's listening, thanks so much for joining us on another episode of the Hit Your Numbers podcast. We hope you've walked away with at least one actionable tactic that can help you move the needle in your day-to-day sales role. And if you like what you heard, maybe subscribe to the podcast, join our newsletter. And then finally, like if you're looking for more hands-on support in your day-to-day role as a seller, or maybe for your sales team, make sure you check out some of the training and coaching solutions that we have to help you close your skill gaps, build more pipeline, hit your numbers. Links to those will be in the show notes as well. So until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and go and hit your numbers.